Lose battles, win wars. The art of war in business and life. In the ancient art of war, there is a lesson both harsh and wise. Sometimes you must lose battles to win the war. This idea, deeply rooted in the teachings of Sun Tzu, extends far beyond the battlefield. It holds powerful meaning for business, life, and even personal growth. The key is understanding that not every fight is worth winning, and that patience and strategy often outweigh immediate victory. Sun Tzu taught that a wise general doesn't rush headlong into every conflict. Instead, he chooses his battles carefully, conserving strength and learning from losses. Sometimes surrendering a small piece of ground means preserving the larger territory, and retreat can be a tactic for greater success later. This mindset requires humility and long-term vision, qualities that are just as valuable in boardrooms and daily life as on ancient battlefields. In business, this means accepting setbacks and failures without despair. A product launch might fail, a deal might fall through, or a partnership might end. But these moments are not the end. They are lessons, part of a greater campaign. The true victory lies in how you adapt, learn, and prepare for the next challenge. Like a skilled warrior, you step back, assess, and choose your next move with care. This approach is echoed in the wisdom of the Stoics, who taught that control over your reactions is more important than controlling external events. Losing a battle is inevitable at times, but losing your composure or your sense of purpose is optional. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself to remain calm and steady, no matter the outcome, because the war of life is fought over years, not moments. Even Leonardo da Vinci, whose genius spanned so many fields, understood the importance of persistence through failure. Many of his inventions and ideas took years of trial and error. He knew that each loss or mistake was a step toward mastery, a necessary part of a larger, more meaningful victory. To lose battles and win wars means embracing patience, resilience, and strategic thinking. It means understanding that immediate success is not the ultimate goal. Lasting achievement is. It asks you to step back from impulsive reactions, to accept setbacks without losing sight of your larger vision, and to keep moving forward with purpose. As you prepare to rest tonight, let this thought settle gently in your mind. Life will bring challenges you can't control, moments you will not win. But if you hold steady, learn from each experience, and keep your eyes on the broader path, you will find that the war is yours to win. In patience and persistence, in calm and strategy, lies your greatest strength. Silence is a weapon. Use it like Sun Tzu in a noisy world. In a world so loud that even our thoughts feel interrupted, silence becomes more than absence. It becomes armor. It becomes clarity. And if you listen closely enough, it becomes strategy. Long before the world was filled with alerts, opinions, and the persistent hum of always being connected, there were masters of quiet. Sun Tzu, the ancient Chinese general and philosopher, didn't just believe in victory, he believed in silent victory. He knew that noise reveals, but silence conceals, and what is concealed cannot be attacked. Imagine a battlefield, but not one of swords and soldiers. Picture instead the modern day, the boardroom, the classroom, the family table, the flashing screen. Noise tries to dominate these spaces, quick words, fast reactions, everyone wanting to be first to speak. But Sun Tzu would remind us that the one who speaks least often sees the most. Silence allows space for observation. It lets emotion pass without becoming action. It reveals what others try to hide through their words. Because when you are silent, the loud expose themselves. Sun Tzu once said, "Let your plans be dark and impenetrable as night, and when you move, fall like a thunderbolt." This is not just a command for soldiers, it's advice for life. He understood that the loudest fighter rarely wins the war. The one who waits, watches, and only speaks when it is time, that is the one who controls the game. In relationships, in arguments, in business, those who keep their thoughts to themselves until the right moment are rarely outmaneuvered. They confuse the hasty. They unsettle the arrogant. They disarm the impulsive. Silence is rarely expected, which is why it holds power. Silence is also where we meet ourselves. Marcus Aurelius, writing centuries later, turned inward through stillness. He didn't command armies like Sun Tzu, but he ruled one of the greatest empires. And yet he found time to retreat into his mind, not with noise, but with quiet pages and unspoken thoughts. He learned what troubled him by first silencing the outer world, and when he found answers, he delivered them with calm. The man who can sit in silence is never truly unarmed. He carries awareness. He builds patience. He speaks when others have spent their strength. Leonardo da Vinci would work in silence for hours, often days. His notebooks weren't filled with noise. They were filled with curiosity. His power came from questions, not declarations. He sketched in silence, invented in silence, and observed in silence. His art was not just about beauty. It was about control. Silence gave him access to thoughts no one else could hear. Even the samurai, trained in the art of war like Sun Tzu's generals, spent years meditating before drawing their blade. They were taught that to make a move too soon was dishonor. The sword was sharp, but silence made it deadly. For them, a calm mind was not weakness, it was readiness. In your world, silence will confuse people. They will ask why you didn't react. They will wonder what you're planning. They will fill the space with assumptions, with their own voices, because they fear the unknown. Let them. You are not here to make noise. You are here to be effective, and effectiveness rarely announces itself in volume. So, when you find yourself in the chaos of opinions and noise, remember this ancient cheat code. Withdraw, observe. Let others reveal their positions. Speak only when the words serve purpose. Listen so deeply that even your silence speaks louder than their shouts. Because in a noisy world, silence isn't surrender, it's strategy. It's Sun Tzu's invisible weapon, sharpened not by steel, but by stillness. And as the noise of the day begins to settle, and your thoughts slow into quiet, know that the silence you now sit in is not empty. It is filled with potential, with power, with presence. Let it hold you tonight. Let it guide you tomorrow. Control the first thought. Marcus Aurelius' method to master emotion. Before a word leaves your mouth, before your body reacts, before your mind spirals into defense or fear, there is a flicker. The first thought. It arrives uninvited, fast, emotional. But in that moment, there lies your greatest power. To notice it, question it, and decide what comes next. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome and lifelong student of Stoic philosophy, knew that the true battle was never against others. It was always within. And the first thought was the gatekeeper. He wrote not to impress, but to remind himself, you are not your reaction. When anger rose, he questioned it. When pride whispered in his ear, he observed it like a passing cloud. Marcus understood something that most people still forget. Your first thought may not be your best thought. It may not be true. It may be shaped by fear, by ego, by old wounds and inherited patterns. And so he trained himself day after day to pause, not to suppress emotion, but to see it clearly before it became action. Controlling the first thought is not about becoming cold or unfeeling. It is about becoming steady, grounded, human, but not ruled by impulse. Picture a drop of ink falling into still water. That's the first thought. It ripples quickly, distorting everything. But if the water remains calm, the distortion fades. You see again, clearly. Calmness, Marcus wrote, is mastery of the self. And that begins the moment you observe what arises inside, without instantly becoming it. The world is full of triggers. A sharp word, a missed opportunity, a sudden disappointment. The body tenses. The mind rushes to defend or justify. But if you catch the first spark, you prevent the wildfire. You hold space between stimulus and response, and in that space lives your strength. The Stoics believe that you cannot control what happens, only how you interpret it. And the interpretation always begins with thought. Your first thought can be fear. Your second can be courage. That's the power of pausing. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, but often felt like a student of emotion. His private writings, never meant for the world, reveal a man constantly wrestling with what his mind offered him each day. He reminded himself not to be shaken by praise or insult, not to react to injury with injury, not to let imagination run wild into future worries. Instead, he practiced a kind of inner stillness. When someone insulted him, he examined the thought. Why does this hurt? Is it true? Is my ego speaking? Do I need to respond at all? In modern times, this is more relevant than ever. You are surrounded by instant reaction, messages, notifications, opinions. You are taught that quick is powerful. But Marcus knew the truth. Power is in restraint. To slow down, to consider, to choose a better response than the first idea that barges in. This is not weakness. It's discipline. It's the ancient cheat code for self-mastery. Lao Tzu once said, "He who conquers others is strong. He who conquers himself is mighty." The first thought is your battlefield. Win there, and you win everywhere. Even Leonardo da Vinci, who seemed endlessly creative, spoke of observing things without rushing to label or define. He studied with patience. He knew clarity didn't come from speed. It came from awareness. So when emotion rises tomorrow, when a mistake, an insult, a fear triggers your instinct, pause. Feel it. But don't serve it. Let it float. Ask what's behind it. Is it truth or habit? Does this thought help you grow or keep you stuck? You do not need to accept every thought your mind offers. You are the gatekeeper. You can let the first thought pass and invite in a better one. That's where freedom lives. Tonight, as the day fades, notice the quiet between thoughts. Let your mind soften. Let emotions slow. You don't need to resist them. Just don't follow them blindly. In that space between the rise of feeling and the response you choose, there is peace. Marcus stood there often. Now, so can you. Observe twice. Speak once. Socrates' rule for real influence. In the dim light of ancient Athens, where debates echoed through marble halls and ideas shaped the course of history, there lived a man who rarely claimed to know anything. And yet, Socrates became one of the most influential thinkers the world has ever known, not because he spoke the loudest or because he always had the answers, but because he listened deeper than anyone else. He observed not once, but twice, before speaking even once. Socrates understood something many still miss. Real influence doesn't begin with expression. It begins with attention. He would walk the city, asking questions, not to trap, but to understand. And in doing so, he noticed everything. The way someone's voice changed when they were uncertain, the small hesitation before a lie, the emotion behind an idea. Where others rushed to fill silence, Socrates waited. He studied the gaps, the tones, the contradictions. He believed that wisdom didn't shout, it listened. To observe twice is not to doubt yourself. It's to sharpen your insight. In a world where everyone rushes to respond, the one who waits sees the full picture. People reveal more than they intend. When you give them space, they show their beliefs, their fears, their intentions, all without needing to be exposed. Socrates made people feel seen by simply being present. And when he finally spoke, his words felt heavier, not because they were long, but because they were earned. Imagine that in your own life. A conversation begins. A disagreement rises. Your instinct may be to jump in, to defend, to correct. But what if you waited just a moment longer? What if you observed not just the words, but the feeling behind them? What if you watched not just the other person, but your own reaction too? That's where influence begins, not in argument, but in presence. You speak differently when you've truly seen what's going on. Socrates didn't write books. He didn't lead armies. He didn't invent new tools. His method was simpler, and yet more powerful. He asked, "What do you mean by that?" And then waited. Not once, but again. He made people hear themselves, reflect, and often change, not because he told them what to think, but because he helped them see what they hadn't noticed. This is a rule that slips quietly into daily life. In the workplace, when tensions rise, observe. In relationships, when emotions flare, observe. Twice. Notice the body language, the pauses, the real message beneath the surface. Speak not to react, but to bring clarity. Because influence isn't about volume, it's about precision. The right word at the right time, from someone who truly understands, is more powerful than 100 rushed replies. Leonardo da Vinci, centuries later, would also rely on deep observation. He looked at the world the way Socrates looked at people, closely, patiently. And from that stillness came genius. Even Sun Tzu, writing about war, echoed the idea. Know your enemy better than they know themselves, and you need not fight. That knowledge comes not from noise, but from watching. To observe twice is to give yourself the gift of perspective. And to speak once, only when it matters, is to ensure your voice carries weight. Socrates didn't leave behind monuments, but he shaped minds that shaped the future. All because he was willing to wait, to look deeper, and to speak less. As your day settles and the world quiets, take this with you. You don't need to fill every silence. You don't need to have every answer. Let your eyes and ears lead before your tongue. In doing so, you may find you understand more than you thought, and say only what truly needs to be said. Influence begins there, in that second observation, and in the stillness before the first word. The strongest wall is self-discipline, built by Stoics, not stones. In a world that constantly tests us with distractions, temptations, and challenges, the strongest wall we can ever build is not made of bricks or mortar, but of self-discipline. This is a truth the ancient Stoics understood deeply, long before the modern age filled our lives with instant gratification and endless noise. For them, self-discipline was the fortress of the mind, the unshakable barrier that protected their peace, their purpose, and their freedom. Marcus Aurelius, a Stoic emperor, lived surrounded by luxury and power, yet he wrote about the importance of ruling himself first. He knew that no external circumstance, no matter how grand, could grant true strength without inner control. The temptations to indulge, to complain, to be ruled by fleeting desires were ever present. But the Stoics taught us that true power lies in mastering these impulses, in choosing reason over passion, patience over impulse. Imagine your mind as a garden. Without care, weeds of distraction and indulgence grow wild, choking the flowers of focus and calm. Self-discipline is the gardener who tends the soil daily, who pulls the weeds before they take over. It's not a harsh jailer, but a wise caretaker, shaping your habits, your thoughts, your actions with gentle persistence. It builds walls, not to confine, but to protect what is precious within. Epictetus, another great Stoic philosopher, emphasized that we cannot control the world outside, but we can control our reactions. Self-discipline is the wall that holds firm when storms rage. It is what keeps a person steady when emotions rise, when temptations whisper, and when challenges threaten to overwhelm. Without it, even the strongest body or the richest treasure is vulnerable. This wall is not built overnight. It grows stone by stone, moment by moment, in the small decisions we make, choosing to rise early, to speak kindly, to resist distractions, to stay focused on what truly matters. Like the craftsman Leonardo da Vinci, who devoted years to mastering his skills through persistent practice, self-discipline requires patience and dedication. It's the quiet strength that fuels creativity, productivity, and resilience. Sun Tzu's strategies for battle also echo this truth. Victory is rarely won by force alone, but by strategy, preparation, and endurance. The disciplined warrior waits calmly, striking only when the time is right. In life, self-discipline gives you the power to wait, to plan, and to act with intention rather than impulse. When you build this wall within yourself, you create a refuge no external force can breach. Criticism, failure, distractions, they may batter the surface, but your inner fortress stands. You become the master of your own mind and actions. This freedom is the ultimate strength. Tonight, as you settle into quiet, reflect on the walls you are building inside. Are they strong? Are they steady? Every small act of discipline adds a stone. Every choice to stay true to your values strengthens your foundation. The strongest wall is not made by others. It is built by you, with patience, persistence, and self-control. Let this truth hold you steady as you rest, ready to face a new day with a mind fortified and free. Appear simple. Think like Da Vinci. Master complexity beneath simplicity. There is a quiet power in simplicity, a power that Leonardo da Vinci mastered like few others in history. To the casual eye, his inventions, his art, his ideas might seem effortless, even simple. But beneath that surface lay a mind capable of unraveling the most complex mysteries and weaving them into elegant solutions. He taught us that true mastery is not about showing off complexity, but about hiding it skillfully beneath the calm of simplicity. Leonardo's notebooks reveal a mind that didn't rush to conclusions. Instead, he observed patiently, breaking down problems into their simplest parts. He knew that complexity can overwhelm, but simplicity invites understanding. Whether sketching the human anatomy or designing flying machines, he pursued clarity first. To appear simple is not to be naive or shallow. It is to carry the weight of knowledge lightly, so others can follow. This approach is a secret weapon in any field of life. Think about your daily challenges, the decisions that seem tangled or overwhelming. When you try to tackle them head-on with complicated strategies, you risk confusion and burnout. But when you break things down, when you focus on the essentials, the path becomes clearer. Leonardo's genius was in mastering that balance, thinking deeply and broadly, yet expressing it simply. Sun Tzu, the ancient strategist, echoes this wisdom. He teaches that the best plans are often the simplest, that strength comes from clarity rather than chaos. The greatest warriors do not show all their moves at once. They keep their strategy hidden beneath a calm exterior. In business, relationships, or creativity, this means mastering complexity inside your mind, but presenting your actions with confidence and ease. Stoic philosophers also admired this principle. They aimed to live in harmony with nature and reason, stripping away unnecessary emotions and distractions to reveal the simple core of what matters. Self-discipline, focus, and patience were their tools to appear calm and unshaken, even when life was anything but simple. To think like Leonardo is to embrace curiosity without overwhelm, to dig deep but never lose sight of clarity. It's a gentle invitation to step back and see the big picture while tending carefully to details. It's the quiet confidence that complexity can be mastered, that beneath every intricate problem lies a simple truth waiting to be discovered. Tonight, as your mind begins to slow, imagine yourself carrying the wisdom of Da Vinci. Let your thoughts wander freely, but bring them back to their simplest form. Don't rush to solve every puzzle at once. Instead, trust that beneath the surface of complexity lies a clear, elegant solution. Appear simple to the world, but hold the depth of your thinking like a secret treasure. In that balance, you find mastery and peace. Time is a sword, sharpened daily. Samurai mindset. On routine. Time is a sword, sharp, powerful, and unforgiving. This is a lesson the samurai lived by every day, a lesson that can transform how we approach our routines and our lives. For the samurai, time was not something to be wasted or taken lightly. It was a weapon to be honed with care, precision, and discipline, because a dull sword is useless in battle, just as wasted time is lost forever. Each morning, a samurai would rise early, not simply because it was expected, but because they knew every moment counted. Their routines were rituals of sharpening, their minds, their bodies, and their spirits. Practice was not random or half-hearted. It was focused and deliberate. Every movement, every breath, was a stroke of the blade, making them sharper, stronger, more prepared. This mindset turns ordinary days into opportunities for mastery. This idea resonates far beyond ancient Japan. Sun Tzu's strategies remind us that preparation and readiness are key to victory. Success isn't accidental. It's the result of daily effort and vigilance. When you sharpen your sword daily, you ensure that when challenges come, you are ready. Laziness or distraction dull your edge, and in the battles of life, whether in work, relationships, or self-growth, that can mean the difference between success and failure. The Stoics, too, emphasized the importance of daily discipline. Marcus Aurelius wrote of focusing on the present moment, treating each day as if it were your last chance to do good. To sharpen your sword daily means to live intentionally, to face each day with purpose, and to build habits that strengthen your character bit by bit. Think about your own time as a sword. How sharp is it? How focused is your routine? Do you start your day with intention, or do you let moments slip through your fingers? Like a samurai, you can choose to train yourself in patience, in focus, in resilience. Each small act of discipline, the way you organize your tasks, the time you take for reflection, the effort you invest in your skills, sharpens your blade for the battles ahead. At night, when the world quiets and distractions fade, reflect on how you've used your time. Did you sharpen your sword today? Did you cut away what wasn't useful? Did you prepare yourself for tomorrow's challenges? This is not about harsh judgment, but about honest awareness, a way to keep your edge keen. Time, like a sword, demands respect. It cannot be stored or reclaimed once lost. But when you sharpen it daily, when you live with intention and discipline, you become a warrior of your own life, ready, resilient, and powerful. Let this thought rest with you as you drift into sleep, knowing that each new dawn is another chance to sharpen your sword and face the day with strength and grace. On build, nothing on anger. Seneca's safeguard against chaos. Anger is a fire that can burn everything in its path if left unchecked. And this is something Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, understood deeply. He warned that building anything, whether relationships, decisions, or actions, on the foundation of anger is a sure way to invite chaos and regret. In his view, anger clouds judgment, distorts reality, and leads us away from reason, making it one of the most dangerous forces to harness in life. Seneca taught that emotions are natural, but how we respond to them defines our character. Anger, in particular, can feel overwhelming and justified in the heat of the moment. But it is a short-sighted builder. Decisions made in anger are often rushed and destructive, like constructing a house on shifting sand. The walls might stand for a time, but eventually they crumble under pressure. The wisdom of the Stoics invites us to pause, to breathe, and to observe anger without letting it control us. Marcus Aurelius wrote about this inner calm, treating every disturbance as a wave passing through the ocean of the mind. This calm allows us to build on steadier ground, rooted in reason and patience, rather than the storm of emotion. Sun Tzu's Art of War also recognizes the danger of anger. A general who loses his temper in battle loses control, becomes predictable, and risks defeat. Victory requires clear thinking and strategic calm, not impulsive rage. In life and business, this lesson holds true as well. Anger blinds us to opportunities and alliances, turning friends into foes and problems into disasters. Leonardo da Vinci's approach to creativity similarly reflects this principle. He practiced patience and curiosity, approaching his work with a steady mind rather than frustration. His greatest achievements were born from calm reflection and perseverance, not impulsive reactions. Tonight, as your day fades away and your mind quiets, consider Seneca's advice. When anger rises, don't build upon it. Instead, let it pass like a storm, leaving clear skies behind. Build your thoughts, your choices, and your relationships on steadier foundations, on patience, understanding, and reason. In this way, you safeguard yourself against chaos and invite lasting peace into your life. Let this thought carry you gently into sleep, calm and unshaken. Your environment is your mirror. Aristotle's insight on character. Aristotle believed that the world around us reflects who we are inside. The environments we choose to live in, work in, and spend time with act like mirrors, showing us back our values, habits, and character. This idea, simple yet profound, teaches that if we want to understand ourselves better, or change for the better, we must pay close attention to the spaces and people we surround ourselves with. Think about it. When you walk into a messy room, you might feel distracted or uneasy, but a tidy, peaceful space invites calm and focus. Aristotle would say, this isn't just about cleanliness. It's about how your environment shapes your mind and spirit. Just as a garden flourishes or withers depending on how it is tended, your character grows or falters depending on the company and surroundings you choose. This insight carries wisdom for every part of life. Sun Tzu taught that choosing the right terrain and conditions before battle is key to victory. Similarly, in life, selecting the right environment prepares you for success. If you surround yourself with negativity, distractions, or bad habits, your progress will be blocked. But if you choose spaces and people that encourage growth, discipline, and kindness, your true self can shine. The Stoics emphasized the power of intentional living, being mindful of what you allow into your life. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself to seek out companions who inspire virtue and to avoid those who bring unnecessary turmoil. Your environment becomes a reflection of your inner world, and by shaping it carefully, you shape yourself. Leonardo da Vinci's workshop was a place of curiosity and creativity. Surrounded by tools, sketches, and books, he created an environment that fueled his genius. His example shows us that cultivating the right surroundings supports our greatest potential. As you settle into the quiet of night, imagine your environment as a mirror held up before you. What does it reflect? Does it show the person you want to be, or the habits you wish to leave behind? This gentle reflection invites you to adjust, to nurture the spaces and relationships that help you grow. Let this thought drift softly with your breath, reminding you that change starts with where and with whom you spend your time. By choosing wisely, you shape not only your surroundings, but your very character, guiding yourself toward peace, strength, and clarity as you rest tonight. Crave nothing, command everything. From the Stoics to Zen monks, there is a quiet power in craving nothing, a strength born from mastery over desire. This idea, shared by the ancient Stoics and the serene Zen monks alike, teaches us that when we let go of constant wanting, we gain the freedom to command everything that truly matters. It may sound paradoxical, but the less we crave, the more control we hold over our lives. The Stoics believed that desires, when left unchecked, create unrest. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself to accept what life offers without longing for more, for craving is often the root of suffering. When we chase after endless wants, whether possessions, approval, or success, we give away our power, becoming slaves to things outside ourselves. But when we learn to crave nothing, we reclaim that power, standing firm like a rock amid the shifting waves. Zen monks, centuries later, and half a world away, echoed this wisdom in their practice of detachment. They embraced simplicity and presence, understanding that craving clouds the mind and disturbs peace. The command they sought was not over others, but over themselves, over their thoughts, their impulses, and their reactions. By quieting desire, they gained clarity and calm, allowing them to act with precision and insight. Imagine a warrior preparing for battle. If their mind is distracted by fear of loss or hunger for glory, they become vulnerable. But if they enter the fight free from attachment, grounded only in the moment and their skill, they move with focus and control. This is the kind of command both Stoics and Zen monks teach, a mastery not over external things, but over the self. This principle applies far beyond ancient philosophy or meditation halls. In the busyness of modern life, craving is everywhere. We crave success, recognition, comfort, even certainty. Yet these cravings often leave us restless and dissatisfied. The more we want, the more we lose, because desire is like a river that never fills. It flows constantly, pulling us downstream, away from peace. But when you learn to crave nothing, a remarkable shift happens. You begin to see what truly matters. Instead of grasping for what is fleeting, you focus on what is steady, your values, your purpose, your inner calm. This is not about rejecting life or ambition, but about finding balance, holding goals lightly, knowing they do not define your worth or happiness. Sun Tzu's teachings on strategy remind us to conserve energy and choose battles wisely. Craving blinds us, making us rush and scatter our efforts. When you crave nothing, you command your choices with wisdom. You act deliberately, not from impulse or desperation, but from clear intention. This steadiness is a kind of victory in itself. Leonardo da Vinci, whose genius spanned art, science, and invention, lived partly by this principle too. Though curious and ambitious, he was not enslaved by desire for fame or wealth. His work came from a place of wonder and discipline, a controlled mind that pursued knowledge for its own sake, not for external rewards. His legacy shows how craving nothing frees the spirit to create boundlessly. As you prepare to rest tonight, consider the freedom in craving nothing. Imagine your desires as clouds passing through a vast, clear sky. They may come and go, but the sky remains calm and open beneath them. When you stop chasing each cloud, you reclaim the vastness of your mind, the stillness that commands your actions and your peace. Let this thought settle gently as you drift to sleep. Release the cravings that tug at your heart, even if only for a moment. Find strength in stillness, and know that by craving nothing, you hold the power to command everything. The true mastery of life. In this quiet command, may you find peace and rest tonight. Plan like a pharaoh. Legacy begins with strategy. Throughout history, the great pharaohs of ancient Egypt stood as symbols of power, wisdom, and enduring legacy. Their reigns were not built on impulse or fleeting moments of glory, but on meticulous planning and strategy that stretched far beyond their own lifetimes. To plan like a pharaoh is to think deeply about the future, to build a legacy not just for today, but for generations yet to come. The pharaohs understood that true power lies not only in ruling the present, but in shaping the course of history. Their monumental pyramids, towering temples, and vast networks of irrigation were not just displays of wealth or might. They were carefully designed projects, born from long-term vision and precise execution. Each stone placed was part of a plan to endure, to be remembered, and to serve a purpose far beyond their mortal existence. This wisdom is echoed in the teachings of Sun Tzu, who emphasized the importance of strategy over brute force. Victory in any battle, whether on the field, in business, or in life, comes from foresight, preparation, and knowing when and where to act. Like a pharaoh overseeing his kingdom, you must anticipate challenges, understand your resources, and plan your moves with patience and clarity. The Stoics, too, would remind us that the future is not something to be feared or ignored, but something to be embraced with calm and careful thought. Marcus Aurelius advised himself to live each day as part of a greater whole, contributing to something larger than himself. The pharaohs lived this truth. They ruled not only for themselves, but for the prosperity and stability of their people long after they were gone. Leonardo da Vinci, in his endless curiosity and innovation, also demonstrated the power of strategic planning. His notebooks reveal layers of ideas, sketches, and inventions developed over years, each one a step toward a larger vision. He didn't rush his work, but allowed it to unfold patiently, understanding that greatness requires both creativity and discipline. Planning like a pharaoh means thinking beyond immediate rewards. It asks you to consider the legacy of your actions and decisions. Are you building something that will last? Are you creating foundations that others can stand upon? This kind of thinking invites patience, resilience, and a steady commitment to your values and goals. As night falls and the world grows quiet, let this ancient wisdom guide your thoughts. Imagine yourself as a pharaoh, overseeing the vast kingdom of your life. What plans will you make today to ensure your legacy? What foundations will you lay for tomorrow? This quiet reflection brings peace, for it connects you to something timeless, a purpose larger than the moment, a future shaped by deliberate and thoughtful action. Allow this thought to ease your mind as you drift into sleep, knowing that every day offers the chance to plan wisely, to build steadily, and to leave a mark that endures. Like the pharaohs of old, your legacy begins with strategy. And that strategy begins now, in the calm of the night. Write what you fear to forget. Leonardo da Vinci's memory hack. In the quiet corners of the Renaissance, Leonardo da Vinci mastered not only art and science, but also the power of memory, a gift that helped him carry the weight of countless ideas, inventions, and observations. One of his most treasured habits was to write down what he feared to forget. This simple practice, a memory hack before its time, reveals a profound truth about the mind and how we can protect what matters most from slipping away. Leonardo's notebooks are filled with sketches, thoughts, and reminders, fragments of brilliance captured before they could fade. He knew that the mind is not an endless vault. It forgets, wanders, and overlooks. But by writing down his fears of forgetting, he anchored ideas to paper, creating a bridge between fleeting thought and lasting knowledge. This habit gave him the ability to revisit and expand on his insights, turning moments of inspiration into enduring creations. This idea goes beyond memory. It teaches us how to honor what we truly value. Fear of forgetting is not about anxiety, but about respect for the treasures within our minds, whether they are ideas, lessons, or feelings. When we write what we fear to forget, we are inviting presence and mindfulness into our lives, allowing ourselves to hold on to what shapes us. The Stoics, too, embraced this mindful awareness. Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations as a way to remember what was important: kindness, discipline, humility. His journals were a way to confront the distractions of life and return to his true self. Like Leonardo's notes, they served as tools to remember the principles that guided him through challenges and triumphs. Sun Tzu's wisdom also aligns with this. To win any battle, you must remember your strengths and your strategy, your past lessons and future goals. Forgetting is a risk that can lead to repeated mistakes, while remembrance builds the foundation for success. Writing becomes a form of preparation, a way to command your mind and avoid the pitfalls of neglect. As night falls and your thoughts begin to settle, imagine holding a small notebook, real or imagined, where you can jot down the things you fear to forget. It could be a lesson learned, a moment of kindness, a goal you want to keep close. This act grounds you in the present while securing your path forward. Leonardo's memory hack is an invitation to slow down, to capture the precious fleeting moments of insight before they vanish. It is a gentle reminder that the mind, though vast, needs help to hold what truly matters. By writing, we give ourselves a tool to shape our lives with intention, clarity, and care. Let this thought carry you softly into sleep, with the comfort that what you fear to forget will be safe, held gently in the quiet pages of your mind's notebook. In this calm, may your rest deepen, and may your dreams be filled with the wisdom you cherish most. Die before you die. Sufi wisdom to overcome ego. Die before you die. The words echo not in the body, but in the spirit. Rooted in Sufi wisdom, this phrase speaks of a transformation so deep that it feels like a death, not of the body, but of the ego. It is the invitation to shed the layers that are not truly you, to let go of the masks, the noise, the pride, the fears, and the endless need for validation. In this death, a more honest life begins. To die before you die is to confront the illusion of control, the desire to always be right, the chase for approval. It means facing the parts of you that are built not from truth, but from fear. The ego clings to roles and stories. It tells you that you must win, must impress, must prove. But Sufi masters knew that the self born of ego is a cage, and freedom, real freedom, begins when that false self is laid to rest. This wisdom is not meant to be dramatic. It is peaceful, like a snake shedding its skin, or a tree letting go of its leaves in autumn. It is a natural process of release. The Stoics practiced this in their own way. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that fame, praise, and power mean nothing if you lose the self. He trained his mind to let go of the superficial, to focus only on what the soul needs: simplicity, virtue, truth. Leonardo da Vinci understood this as well, though through a different lens. His genius was not driven by arrogance, but by curiosity and humility. He never believed he had all the answers, and that made his mind vast and open. By dying to pride, he became limitless in thought. In the quiet of the night, this practice becomes even more powerful. You are no longer in the performance of the day, no audience to impress, no image to maintain. You are simply here, alone with your breath and your truth. This is where ego begins to dissolve, not with a fight, but with a gentle letting go. Who are you when no one is watching? That is the beginning of knowing. Sun Tzu would call it strategic surrender. A warrior does not cling to illusion. He sees clearly, adapts, flows. To die before you die is to surrender what weakens you, to let go of the things that make your spirit heavy. And in that surrender, you become lighter, freer, more alive. Tonight, as your body sinks into stillness, imagine yourself stepping out of your ego as if it were a heavy coat. Let it fall to the floor. You don't need it now. Not here. What remains is something quieter, deeper, older than thought. A self that doesn't need to win or be seen. A self that is simply present. That is the self you carry into your dreams. And when you wake tomorrow, perhaps you'll carry just a little less weight. Because each night you can practice this gentle death. And each morning, be reborn, not as who the world expects, but as who you truly are. That is the quiet revolution. That is the Sufi's gift. Let enemies teach you. Sun Tzu's unexpected upgrade. Let enemies teach you. It sounds unnatural at first, maybe even foolish. But Sun Tzu, the master of strategy, knew that wisdom doesn't always arrive dressed as a friend. Sometimes it comes wrapped in tension, conflict, and discomfort. An enemy by nature reveals your weaknesses, tests your patience, and challenges your vision. But to the one who pays attention, every enemy becomes a mirror. And in that reflection lies a chance to improve. To learn from enemies is to refuse to be blind with pride. It means not just defending yourself, but listening in the fight. When someone opposes you, mocks you, or tries to bring you down, they are also revealing what they see. Maybe it's a flaw you've been ignoring. Maybe it's a strength they fear. Either way, they offer intelligence. Sun Tzu never wasted that kind of information. He knew that every opponent is also a teacher in disguise. Leonardo da Vinci never had traditional enemies like those on battlefields, but he faced doubters, critics, and those who dismissed his inventions as fantasy. Instead of silencing them, he used their disbelief to refine his work. If someone said it was impossible, he would find a way to prove it wasn't. The opposition sharpened his vision. It made him precise, calm, relentless. The Stoics also understood this practice. Marcus Aurelius wrote of turning insults into opportunities to strengthen character. If someone accused him of weakness, he would examine himself and grow stronger in silence. If someone attacked his reputation, he would ask, "Is it true?" If not, it holds no power. If yes, then let it guide me toward virtue. Even harm, he believed, can be repurposed into strength if your ego doesn't get in the way. The real challenge is emotional. Enemies often provoke fear, anger, or insecurity. But Sun Tzu's path is colder, clearer. Strategy requires you to rise above emotion, not to be numb, but to see further. The one who is always angry learns nothing. The one who observes, adapts, and learns. They become unshakable. So how do you practice this? Not by seeking conflict, but by changing how you receive it. When someone criticizes you, pause. Is there something useful in their words? When someone competes with you, study them. What makes them effective? What makes them predictable? What makes them afraid? If someone lies about you, notice how others respond. What does that teach you about trust, loyalty, or power? Every enemy reveals a map, a blind spot, a weakness you didn't notice in yourself. And when you study that map without rage, you begin to upgrade, not just your defenses, but your understanding of the world and your place in it. As you lie down tonight, Think back on any tension you felt today. Was there someone who made you feel threatened, uncomfortable, or judged? Now try something different. Thank them in your mind, because in some strange way, they gave you information. They showed you where you still have room to grow, to protect, or to lead. That's a gift most friends don't give so easily. Let enemies teach you. It is not softness, it is precision, a new level of awareness. And it turns every battle, even the ones you didn't choose, into a classroom. That's how you win without noise. That's how you evolve, quietly, strategically, without losing your center. Let that truth settle into your breath as you drift into rest. You are learning even now. Discomfort is the real teacher. Spartan growth formula. Discomfort is the real teacher. The Spartans knew this long before comfort became the modern goal. They trained in the cold, ate just enough to survive, slept on rough ground, and fought with little margin for error, not because they enjoyed pain, but because they understood something deeper. Growth lives just beyond comfort. Strength isn't built in safety. It's built in friction, in pressure, in the moments when your body says stop and your mind says go one more step. In today's world, we're trained to avoid discomfort. The bed must be soft, the air just right, the food perfectly seasoned. One moment of boredom, and we reach for the nearest distraction. But the human spirit, like a muscle, does not grow in ease. It needs tension. It needs resistance. And when used wisely, discomfort becomes not suffering, but sharpening. The Stoics practiced this intentionally. Seneca would sleep on the floor and wear rough clothes, not to punish himself, but to remind his mind that he could endure less. He believed that luxury made the soul fragile. That discomfort, practiced voluntarily, builds an inner core that cannot be shaken when the world inevitably shifts. And it always shifts. Leonardo da Vinci, despite his genius, spent years in discomfort. His notebooks are filled with unfinished ideas, private doubts, and wild experiments that didn't work. Yet he kept going. Why? Because the edge of failure, the stretch beyond what he already knew, that was the real classroom. The discomfort of not knowing became the spark of discovery. Sun Tzu would frame it as preparation. A soldier who only trains in perfect conditions is not ready for war. A mind that only faces agreement is not ready for conflict. A leader who only receives praise cannot handle resistance. So discomfort, in this view, becomes a form of armor. The daily fire that forges a readiness the easy path never gives. And then there are the small discomforts, the cold morning, the awkward silence, the difficult conversation. These are not signs to retreat. These are quiet teachers, each one saying, here is where you grow. Here is where you find out who you really are. Not in the applause, but in the test. Tonight, as you prepare to rest, let go of the idea that peace means comfort. Peace can live in discomfort too, if you face it with the right mind. Think of one moment today that stretched you, one choice that felt hard, one emotion that made you want to run or react. Now ask yourself, what was it teaching you? Was it courage, patience, humility, endurance? Discomfort never comes empty-handed. It always carries a lesson, often hidden behind resistance. But once you learn to welcome it, to even seek it, you begin to unlock parts of yourself that comfort keeps asleep. So let your body rest now, but let your mind remember. Growth isn't always loud. Sometimes it's silent. Sometimes it's subtle. But it almost always begins in the uncomfortable. And that's where your next strength is waiting. Say less, do more. Win quietly. Roman senator-style execution. Say less, do more. Win quietly. It was the Roman way, not just in the Senate halls, but in life, in war, in legacy. The most powerful among them didn't need to shout. Their strength came through precision, patience, and quiet execution. A Roman senator might sit in silence through heated debate, watching, calculating, and then, with a single phrase or decision, shift the course of the room, not with noise, but with weight. That's the style of those who don't chase attention. They command it, without asking. This idea isn't ancient only in age. It's timeless in truth. The world has become loud, constant notifications, endless opinions, a race to speak before thinking. But if you study the people who actually shift the future, they rarely speak first. They move, they build, they outlast, and they speak only when it matters. Leonardo da Vinci followed this code in his own way. He didn't release a flood of words. He worked in silence, observed, created machines the world couldn't understand yet. Even his notebooks were often written in code or mirrored script, not to hide ideas from others, but to reflect his belief that the work should speak for itself when the world is ready. That's not secrecy. That's strategic silence. The Stoics believed in this too. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, wrote pages of thoughts for no one but himself. He didn't broadcast his wisdom. He practiced it. He didn't complain in the face of stress. He carried the empire on his shoulders, quietly enduring storms most couldn't see. His strength wasn't loud. It was rooted still, like stone. Sun Tzu's entire philosophy is built around this principle. To win, don't reveal everything. Let others underestimate. Let them talk. While they exhaust themselves in projection, you prepare. You move silently. So when you strike, the result feels inevitable. It's not about deception. It's about clarity. It's about not wasting power on noise. In your own life, this might mean resisting the urge to prove, to post, to announce every step. Sometimes the deepest progress happens in silence. A quiet morning routine, a private goal, a decision made in stillness that changes everything a year from now. Not because you told the world, but because you followed through when no one was watching. As you lay down tonight, reflect on your own silence. Where can you say less tomorrow? Where can your actions replace explanations? What can you build in private that will echo in time? You don't need to be loud to be powerful. You don't need to explain yourself to be understood. You don't need to announce your plans to make them real. Some of the greatest revolutions in history began in whispers, in private notebooks, in silent vows made under moonlight. So rest now, not because your work is done, but because you're preparing, quietly, intentionally. The world doesn't need to know every step, but one day, they'll see where it led. And by then, the silence will have spoken for you. Guard your inner court. Epictetus on mental boundaries. Guard your inner court. That was Epictetus's way of saying, protect the space within you where your thoughts take shape, where your emotions are born, where your choices begin. He saw the mind not as a battlefield, but as a kingdom, and not everyone should be allowed through its gates. In that sacred inner court, your reason, your peace, your perspective, you decide what gets in and what stays out. That's not avoidance. That's mastery. Every day you're exposed to noise, opinions disguised as truth, criticism disguised as care, temptation wrapped in urgency. And if you're not careful, these things slip past your gates. They become part of your thoughts, your self-talk, your reactions. Epictetus believed the first line of defense is awareness. What are you allowing in? Not just into your schedule, but into your identity. The Stoics trained for this mentally. They knew you can't always control what happens around you, but you can control how far in it travels. You might hear insult, but you don't have to take it personally. You might face uncertainty, but you don't have to panic. The mind, when disciplined, becomes a fortress. Calm on the outside is rare, but calm on the inside is revolutionary. Marcus Aurelius called it retreating into yourself. Even in the chaos of leading an empire, he carved out space in his mind where nothing could disturb him. It wasn't escapism, it was presence, the ability to be surrounded by challenge and still return to clarity. Think of your own life. How many times have you let one person's bad mood steal your peace? One news headline hijack your focus? One memory echo longer than it should? These are breaches in your inner court. And once you see them, you can begin to close the gates, not by building walls, but by building filters. You ask, does this deserve space in my mind? Will it help me act with reason? Will it help me grow? Leonardo da Vinci did this in his own way. Surrounded by patrons, critics, politics, and constant demands, he still found a place inside himself where curiosity could roam free. He didn't guard his time by force. He guarded his mind by depth. The deeper he went into thought, the less the noise could follow. You don't need a monastery to do this. You need presence. A breath before you react. A pause before you absorb. A decision every morning to choose what enters your inner court and what stays at the gate. This isn't about being cold. It's about being clean, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, so that when something truly important enters, you have the space to welcome it with strength. As you lie down tonight, ask yourself, what did I let in today that I didn't need to? What thought loop am I still carrying that doesn't serve me? What emotion came from someone else's storm, not my own clarity? Then let it go. Clear the court. Sleep isn't just for rest. It's for resetting the gates. Tomorrow you start again, not as a victim of what the world throws at you, but as the keeper of your own mind, the guardian of your thoughts, and the protector of that silent space where your true power lives. Seek stillness before strategy. Lao Tzu's Clarity Protocol. Seek stillness before strategy. That was Lao Tzu's quiet command in a world always rushing toward the next move. Before the plan, before the pursuit, before the action, pause. Let the dust of your thoughts settle. Let the noise within soften, not to delay, but to clarify. The Tao, he taught, does not force, it flows. And clarity doesn't arrive through pressure. It arrives through stillness. In ancient times, generals would often wait for the fog to lift before moving their armies, not because they feared the mist, but because they knew missteps happen when vision is blurred. Lao Tzu applied the same thinking to the inner world. If your mind is crowded by fear, by ego, by impatience, then every decision you make will reflect that chaos. But if your mind is still, even for a moment, your next move becomes obvious, even elegant. Right action doesn't need to be overthought. It rises when thought is quiet. Stillness isn't just silence, it's spaciousness, the space between the stimulus and the response. The moment when you're tempted to react, but choose to breathe instead. It's in that gap that wisdom lives. And those who can pause there, if only for a second, hold a different kind of power. Marcus Aurelius found stillness each morning in his meditations, even as emperor, with armies to manage and politics to endure. He took time to clear the mind before engaging the world. To him, stillness wasn't retreat. It was readiness, the ability to return to the center before stepping into the storm. Sun Tzu knew this too. Every strategy in the art of war rests on one premise: understand the terrain. And you can't understand the terrain if you're charging ahead blindly. Whether that terrain is the battlefield or the battlefield of your own life, it requires observation, and observation only sharpens in stillness. Leonardo da Vinci would often sit, unmoving for hours, staring at a wall, watching water flow, waiting for insight. His genius wasn't just in what he did, but in what he waited to do, in letting the mind settle enough to see patterns others overlooked. He didn't rush the design. He listened to the silence between thoughts, and then, in that clarity, he created. This isn't some poetic ideal. It's a practical upgrade. You have decisions to make, problems to solve, relationships to navigate. But if you go into them full of noise, you bring confusion with you. If you enter them from stillness, you bring precision. So as you lie down tonight, let your mind unclench. Let the loops unwind. Tomorrow's strategy will come more easily if tonight you can find stillness. Let thoughts rise and fall, like wind through leaves. You don't have to stop them. You just don't follow them. You observe. You soften. Stillness doesn't mean you do nothing. It means you prepare from the inside. Because in a world that prizes constant movement, your quiet pause becomes your sharpest advantage. So when the time comes to act, you don't second guess. You don't hesitate. You move, like water finding its way, guided by a clarity few ever reach. That's the protocol. That's the secret. Stillness first, strategy after. The way of the Tao and the way forward. Be as curious as dangerous. Alexander the Great's combo move. Be as curious as dangerous. That's how Alexander the Great rewrote the map of the known world, by pairing a warrior's edge with a philosopher's hunger. He didn't just conquer with force. He conquered with questions. Every time he took a new city, he wanted more than control. He wanted to understand it. Its language, its people, its gods. Curiosity wasn't his weakness. It was the sharpest blade in his arsenal. From Aristotle, his teacher, Alexander learned that knowledge isn't separate from power. It is power. But most men stop at one or the other. They choose the sword or the scroll. Alexander fused them. That's why his empire didn't just grow. It lasted. Because where others imposed their culture, he blended his. He studied what he ruled, and what he studied, he came to master. In modern terms, this isn't about territory. It's about edge. Your curiosity is how you enter new arenas, new industries, new parts of yourself. Your danger is how you move within them. Without curiosity, your talent becomes rigid. Without danger, your intellect stays safe. Combine them, and you become unpredictable. You ask questions others are afraid to ask. You move into spaces others don't even notice. You outthink and outplay, because you're not bound by habit. You're guided by vision. Think of Leonardo da Vinci, dangerous in thought, curious by nature. He dissected bodies not out of cruelty, but to answer his own burning questions. How does a tendon pull? What shape does air take when disturbed? His curiosity wasn't passive. It cut through boundaries. It trespassed politely, then redefined the territory. Or think of Bruce Lee, a philosopher in motion. His fighting style, a hybrid of all he studied: boxing, fencing, Taoism. He wasn't loyal to form. He was loyal to function. Because curiosity asked, what works? And danger delivered, here's how. At bedtime, this becomes reflection. Ask, where am I playing too safe? Where have I stopped asking why? Curiosity isn't just for the classroom. It's for life. It means walking into tomorrow like it holds a secret. It means staying sharp, not just with words, but with intent. So tonight, as your body rests, let your mind wander where it hasn't dared. What skill have you admired but never studied? What truth do you sense but haven't pursued? What fear could be turned into fuel if only you asked the right question? Alexander didn't conquer because he wanted to own. He conquered because he wanted to know. He turned every border into a doorway. And you can too, not by force, but by focus, not by shouting louder, but by listening deeper. Be curious, be dangerous, be the question and the answer. That's the real empire.